got to be a wise man out there, some wise man, not me, who said there's 999 ways to screw this up and not go fast. Just pick one. And if he hasn't already said that, he needs to, because we have tried all day to go faster. I have been wide open throttle 6 times in Game Over today, and it does the same thing every time. 5,500 RPM, 94-ish miles an hour, and 0 boost. Couldn't figure out why. We're putting bigger springs in it. Like, we're checking for leaks. We're checking everything. Can't figure out why. And finally, my friend Brian Macy goes, well, when you mocked up the turbos and you mounted them, it's a lot easier to do it without the valve seat inserts in the wastegates. And a lot of guys forget to put them back in. And I'm like, you know, I did have a really odd size set of E-bands that I had half of that didn't work for anything. Oh yeah, that's what these are. So that goes right there. Then the wastegate goes on. And then you make boost and go fast. So that's our next thing tomorrow, is to finally build boost and go fast. You know. Awesome. Really have no complaints other than I'm ready for more power. We've gone a touch over 100 miles an hour in about 3 seconds, which is awesome. But after 3 seconds, the boat kind of runs out of water. And what I mean by that is you're skimming across the water, and then the jet drive, this deal right here, stops picking up enough water to continue accelerating the boat faster and faster. And let me show you how that works, right? Under here. So, this is the bottom of the boat. There's a hole right here, all right? This is the intake for the jet drive. Water comes off the bottom of the boat, turns and goes up into this jet drive. Then the jet drive squeezes it out the back. Well, when the water's rough or you're going really fast, eventually the water stops turning on its own up into the jet drive, and the shape of the bottom of the boat stops making the water go up in there. And you realize. Here's a quick demonstration of what I was talking about in reference to the bottom of the boat. This is a spoon. This shape is very similar to the keel of the bottom of my jet boat, and the keel is the center of the boat. That's the surface the water runs across and then curves up into the jet drive. So as you're looking at your screen, on the left side of the bottom of the spoon, and then the right side, picture that cruising across the water really fast, and then the water moving from left to right and flowing upwards into the jet drive. Now, I'm gonna turn the spoon like this. I'm gonna turn the water on in this faucet. I'm gonna show you how the shape of that spoon, i.e. the bottom of the boat, bends the water and forces it to go around a curve up into the jet drive. It's pretty cool. Watch this. Watch what happens when this spoon shape hits the water, and watch what it does to the direction of the flow of water. See how it bent it? So now imagine the boat ripping across the water and the water coming off the keel of the boat, bending up into the jet drive intake. And that's how the spoon shape of the bottom of the boat will direct the flow of water into the jet drive. Now that works great to a certain point, but then you need to adjust the hardware on the bottom of the boat to pick up additional water. You can thank Steve Brule from West Tech Performance for that lesson, because he taught that to me 10 years ago. So there's this thing right here. It's called a shoe. It looks kind of like a horseshoe shape. That glides through the water and helps also direct water up in there. And you can lower this in relation to the bottom of the boat by putting shims between the bottom of the boat and this and spacing it downward. And when you do that, it'll drag in the water a little more and pick up more water. And right now we're going to build some shims so that we can lower our shoe and try to pick up some more water. And we're also going to put some stiffer springs in our wastegates so we can make more boost. Right now we're making 3.5 pounds of boost. we're turning this impeller, which is a giant impeller, we're turning it 6,000 RPM at wide open throttle. I'd like to see 6,500, because in a jet boat, the higher the RPM, when you have a full load of water going in here, the harder your boat accelerates and the faster you go. So we're going to do that. We're going to drop the shoe with some shims right now, and then we're going to go back out with more spring in the wastegate and see if we can go a little quicker. And this is what it looks like. This is dragging through the water, deflecting water up into the jet drive. And we have one shim in there already. This is a 90 thousandths thick shim. What we're looking for right now for testing purposes is a total of 200 thousandths of an inch shim, a little less than 1/4 of an inch. So I'm gonna go in the shop and make a thicker one of these to put in here, bolt that back together, and then we'll go out and test again. All right, back onto the boat. We have made new shims. These shims are gonna go right here on top of the shoe. The shoe will bolt to the bottom of the boat, and now it's effectively gonna be lower in the water in relation to the bottom of the boat than it was before, scooping up more water, putting more load on the engine, which turbos like, and hopefully allowing this boat to run through the rough water further and faster than it did before. We're gonna have to change this end of the ride plate just a little bit, because we've lowered the shoe, which is the front mounting surface of this ride plate. It's going to change the angle of the ride plate, and we don't want to do that. We want to leave the angle alone and just test the one change, which is lowering the shoe. So we made shims to go in here. We'll put a shim under this end as well, and maintain the angle we had before on the ride plates. The other thing you got to watch out for when you do stuff like this and make changes like this is you want to make sure your bolts are still long enough to fully engage the threads in the bottom of the boat and provide enough clamping force to hold this stuff together. Ask me how I know that. I've actually had these parts rip off the bottom of my boat during a drag boat race because I lowered the shoe a bunch and forgot to put longer bolts in it. It's no fun when that happens. This plate, it's called ride plate or a suction plate. This extends the running surface of the boat this way, and when you're going really fast, the boat rides on this and about the last 2 or 3 feet of the hull. You want to keep this at the same angle every time you're making changes. So we moved the shoe down, we moved the amount of spacers in here to move this down as well. And it was at 2.1 degrees up angle before. It's at 2.3, which is close enough. I don't have another shim I could stick in there to zero it, you know, and make it perfect. So
it says 3.8.
Over here it says 2. Well, now it says 2.2. Well, on my side it's dialed. I don't know what your side says.
That says 3.9.
No way, really? Dude, come over here. I'm not lying. Come over here. It says 2.3. Let's split the difference. It's perfect.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you determine the length of this? Why can't this be longer? Like what? How do you determine that?
I determine the length of this. A lot of that is like tribal knowledge. This is just how long they've been. I've never tried to build one much longer. Mainly because this is at an up angle, right? Eventually, if you keep extending this out, it's going to run into here. So it can kind of only go so far. Is a longer one more beneficial or a shorter one? Honestly, don't know. There's like so many variables with these boats that you could test and tune and tweak until you're blue in the face. And I don't have that kind of time. I know that this ride plate length in general works pretty well on this boat. And
I mean, what do you have to do that's more important right now? I mean, it's perfect time.
Well, we could put stiffer springs in the wastegate and make more boost. How about we do that? What do you say?
You can also put stiffer springs in the front of the C50.
You don't want to bounce down the road anymore?
I like how we're like modifying the truck and still not touching the front suspension.
Well, I mean, it's got suspension. It's just not very good. It's got it. It didn't have a blower before.
That's right.
I mean, where are your priorities?
I'm not gonna. Hey,
it had a suspension of sorts. It didn't have a blower. So
I'm not complaining.
If it didn't have a suspension, then I'd say, okay, well, it won't roll. We should put suspension to make it roll. This rolls. So
My back starts hurting. I just say, shut up. It's got a blower.
listen to the blower whine. All right, let's put springs in it and a CO2 bottle, and we'll see what she do. Okay, jet hardware is totally adjusted. Now we're taking out the little boy springs.
The one-man operation that I can do this by myself has now turned into a two-man job.
If we just had, like, we have Holley boost solenoids that the Dominator ECU will control, and a CO2 system in the boat, and had I had that all set up and programmed, we could just turn that on, but we ain't got time for that. The sun's going down, so we're just going to put bigger springs in the wastegates and go out there and floor it till we see God.
Mm-hmm. I like it. I ain't riding, but I like it.
All right. I had to put the phone down because it legit is a two-man job now to compress the spring and put it all back together. Dude, nice work.
Even straight. It's because I care.
Well, now you care.
Well, it's faster now. The faster it goes, the more I'll care.
Says the guy that won't go tubing behind it.
No, it's not the boat. I'll tube behind the boat. I just don't trust the driver. I don't trust that you won't go 100 miles an hour with me in the back.
I promise.
Yeah.
Promise.
Yeah. That was amazing.
That's impressive.
Dude.
The exhaust leak is way worse now, but oh my God, that left hard.
Dude, it. Wow.
Dude, it's badass. You gotta drive it. Not now.
No, yeah.
Let's
Wow.
put it on the trailer.
All right.